Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to yet another edition of Africa Discourse. I am Wilson Omasha. Today we're going down to South Africa, where a group of persons choose to come out en masse with migration officials in South Africa to have this march against xenophobic attack, against xenophobia. Don't forget that some weeks ago, some group of persons, they are saying that they want to help the immigration officials in South Africa to purge South Africa of illegal migrants. People like saying that this set of persons have this nomenclature of attacking personnel without a due cause. Some of them will just go out there, destroy their shops, all in the name of them being illegal immigrants, and that may just once again rekindle that bitterness against other personalities from other countries vis-a-vis xenophobic attacks. But the South African government swung into action, and the leader of that group was arrested. Right now, there is a counter-protest in South Africa saying enough is enough of this xenophobic attack. Yet there's another group that is saying the leader of the particular group that want to help the immigration officers in South Africa to get rid of illegal migrants, they are asking the South African government to release the leader of that group. Protests, counter-protests, for and of course against. But the one that is happening right now in South Africa is the one that are saying that enough of all this xenophobic attack, because they want to change the narrative. Do you think all this will just happen and we'll get to hear less of xenophobic attacks in South Africa? All these and more will take a look at today's installment of Africa Discourse. I am Wilson Omasha. Here in the studio, he was one time a Labour devotee. To me, once a Labour devotee, always a Labour devotee. He is also a human rights activist, and of course one-time Palm Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture in Edo State. Though retired, he's not tired. He's still serving humanity by coming out to speak on topical issues, both national and international, even in a local climate. Join me to welcome Kadri Bashir. Welcome to Africa Discourse. I appreciate your coming, sir.
Thank you so much, Wilson, for having me. It's quite my pleasure to contribute my ideas and perception about the issues of xenophobia. Wilson, you will recall that this is not the first time the Nigerian people are experiencing xenophobic attack. I use the word Nigeria as a reference for other countries across Africa that have suffered the same fate. Incidentally, South Africa is just a recent case in the last 10 years. You remember the story of the Ghana experience. There was also the Ghana experience many years ago, and of course, recent times too, Ghana have also played a role in that kind of negative approach to development. And I think very clearly, first I'll talk from the perspective of our people, and the second I'll talk about the other countries. Now, I am thinking very clearly that Nigeria have the capacity to begin to direct the economy of Africa. Because the whole of this story is about the economy. The whole of the entire idea of xenophobia is centered on economic issues. Some claim that, well, this is, they're coming to take what is our proper right to mark in a business in our country, and so on and so forth. Of course, it's not also strange to history that if you remember the story of the German experience, where you have the Adolf Hitler experience, where the Israelis were the focal point at that time, before the World War issue. And you recall too that that was a very serious, that was the first time from human history remembrance when the word, what they call it now, a word was used, and that's like annihilating a tribe. Genocide was used. When we were told that about 2 million Jews were killed in just like that. Yeah. And there was the place where they were packed into a closet, and where they were killed by the Germans, because the Germans felt that, oh, the Jews have come and take over our economy. And this was Adolf Hitler's perception. Of course, that kind of attitude brought Hitler to disrepute. The entire world condemned the action, and he was also demonized for acting in that manner. The Jews coming to Germany, it's not their fault. They have to migrate. Migration, which we recognize, is a phenomenon, and is fundamental to human nature. You cannot stop migration. What we only say is that migration should be properly organized and structured so that you can have people move from point to point, knowing who they are, what they are, and contribute to the economy of where they are going to positively. Now, coming back to Nigeria, and I think what is happening now should send the signal to both the young and the old. For every level of development, there are leaders. In a family unit, there are leaders. In a society, in ward, there are leaders. Of course, in local government, there are leaders. And in state, there are leaders, including national. I think one of the problems we have had in the past is that we zero down the issue of leadership to just those in the state and the federal. Without recognizing leadership is not just about the state and the federal. There are other leadership levels, which of course the family unit is one of the first leadership levels in the world. How much has the family unit played a role in making sure that the morals and the standard practice of life are inculcated into our children? Some time ago, I was in a program with you here when I told you that our homes are almost gone. What we now have, we have more of houses than more of homes. Because character molding is from the home. The school only assists. The fundamental training point in any society is the home. And when the homes are now in disarray, what you expect in society will be horrible. And that's exactly what we are experiencing. I'm making this point as a premise to my further discussion. But to mention that we need to now re-examine where did we miss it? How come our homes are now in anarchy? Children's concept about life is now material definition, desperation, without recourse to human sanctity of human life. Everything people do now, a lot of them that they do now is criminal intent, which of course goes to speak to the fact that today people migrate. A lot of them migrating are reasons for criminality and not reasons for development. Not giving credence to why what is happening, but just to say that we need to also examine our own system. While we are pointing fingers and condemning the tendencies of the xenophobic attack, we should also be considering what value are we adding to the society? What generated this whole story? What is the causal factor? Because when you don't talk about the causation, you talk about the consequence, you are not getting results. What are the causal factor? Now, are we really convinced that some of our people there are not behaving negatively that generated this kind of impression? Are we thinking that way? Have we examined our own fundamental? Have we examined our migration bracket, migration issues? How do we migrate? What are the issues in migration? Today you hear one story, you hear another story. The last time we heard there was a trouble that happened. Young men fought themselves in Dubai, and they carried the problem back home, and a man was killed in the church. Indonesia, you heard the story.
Yeah.
A man was killed in the church. Even from the quarrel from back overseas, they brought the quarrel down home and they cascaded and killed the person in the church. Now, are we going to continue in this manner? Because for me, before somebody tells me, oh, I was insulted, Baba, my son will go out, and while he was outside, somebody insulted and say, you decrease, punish you. My child comes and say, what did you tell him first? What was your action before he reacted? Did he just react without an action? Did he just act without an action? What did you tell him? That's why we are told in our local partners, if a son of a king comes and tell the father, that Baba, one man just insulting me, and he said, my father, he saw my father. The king will sit down and say, what did you tell the man? That the man now insulted your father. Ali told him his father. He said, hey, since you caused the father.
You started the reaction, chain reaction.
And so the man will also cause your own father.
Yeah.
Because your father and his father are fathers. So the young man causing your father, you caused your father, not the young man. After that, the child will sit back and begin to re-examine how he reacts outside, so as not to bring shame and disdain to the family. Many years ago, family's name was sacred. And when a child is going out and he misbehaves, the father will flog him, hell he misbehave, and tell him that the name you are carrying was not destroyed before you were born. So you can't do what you are doing now. Watch it. And the child, next time, his actions will sit back and consider before the actions are taken. And now, that is the kind of thing that I am thinking that we need to do. Yes, xenophobic attack has been a terrible experience, a nightmare for the genuine people who travel. Travel, like I said, is natural, is fundamental. If people must travel, there's no way you can stop. But when they travel, they should travel genuinely. That is one. 2, they should go with some moral standard. 3, when they behave that the other person they're behaving to is a human being. And of course, 4 is that when you are a standard bearer in terms of behavior, it will be difficult for any character to see you and want to attack you. It will be difficult. Except the character himself too does not have a home, and he came from a house where anarchy ruled their home. Of course, now if we look at that, and I said, let's look at our home. Let us now reorganize ourselves. Nigeria, there's so much potential in this our country. It is not to say it because I'm in Nigeria, but to say it because it's the truth. So much potential in this country that we can harness and make the country a greater country. Now, for me, leadership is not, like I said today, only the state governor or the president or the local government. It's about all of us. At the level you are a leader. You are a father of a home, you are a leader. You are a mother of a home, you are a member of the leadership class. What role are you playing to give the child the kind of training he deserves for him to move further in life? What kind of thing are you advising the child to do?
Okay.
What is the desperation that has been running in the head of this child because of your bad training? And a lot of young people today no longer understand. All they believe is, how much am I going to make? The material definition. They don't care about the human sanctity at all, human life at all. So what do you expect people to react? Of course, this attitude and this situation is not just only Nigeria. It cascades across the African continent. Because, for instance, I tell people the other day, I said, in one of my talks, I said, for me, the African people are suffering the fate today. Why? Because there's a mismatch of culture.
A mismatch of culture?
Yes. And that mismatch of culture has brought a new culture, which is culture of neither black nor white. There's a culture of anarchy. Whatever goes for me makes sense. I don't believe in standard. It is what suits me that's a standard. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The truth is a standard. You cannot, whether you are favored or not by the truth, is it remain the truth. It's an axiom. The more you contest it, the more it becomes the truth. And if you say, okay, today they say the rule, don't pass this road, you go and pass that road. Something happens to you. Next time you'll be careful. But if you say, no, any road I pass must be a road and it's good for me, then there's danger. Because one day, that same road you say, any road I pass, good for me. Somebody else pass that road to your house and then you'll be in trouble. So how do you reconcile that? Okay, so when you are negatively affected, it's right, it's wrong. So when you are when you are favored, it's right. It doesn't make sense.
All right, now if some persons are trying to really follow your chain of thought, they will just be like, somewhere along the line, I want to ask you this question, are you supporting xenophobic attack?
No.
You put it on the negative aspect of other nationals in South Africa. You're justifying it.
Like I told you.
Yes.
Listen, like I told you, and I have told you this. We first of all talk about who are we?
Okay.
If I'm going to address you, I should first of all examine myself. Whether what I'm telling you, I have any role to play in making you feel the way you felt about me. That's where I'll start from. That is what is more a critical reasoning. Have I done anything that makes Wilson react the way he's reacting now? It's after that, and I'm convinced that I've not, that I can now say Wilson must be wicked, must be mischievous. Now, in every climb, there are criminals everywhere. But what has happened in our own situation in Africa is that Nigerians are at the point where envy has overrun people against them. So today I said, let me first of all talk about our home before I move outside.
Okay.
I made that to you. That's why I was saying, that's why I draw the line.
The line, okay.
Now, I was talking about our home. The volume of migration in Nigeria is heavy.
It's heavy, yeah.
And it's one of the heaviest in Africa.
True.
And so it is not a contestation. But my own take is that why we are saying that xenophobic is demonic and satanic. But we're also saying that what are we doing as a people that attracts these tendencies? We're also saying that why we are condemning the action of anybody who behaves that way, we should also tell ourselves the obvious, that we need to re-engineer our homes. That's where I'm going to. I will never support xenophobic by any reason, by any standard. Right. Because for me, if what happens to you in another man's country, if that person in that country who believes that it's advantage because in his country, next time he travels to your country and something happens to him, you should not complain. That is why we need to stabilize it. Okay. And what is wrong, and what is right. We all condemn it. So coming back to the issue, I haven't talked about our own home country. Now, I talk about the South African country, where a lot of the young men there are also having these crazy thoughts. Just like I told you, I say it's across the African continent, crazy thoughts, where once you're non-South African, then you don't have a reason to be there. Where when you are doing well is a crime, where envy has taken over the thought of the young men. It is not, a lot of the actors you are seeing today are a function of the lackadaisical and the collapsed home of those countries too. Because a child from a proper home will not have time to go and attack people's shops. A child from a proper home will not have time to go and become envious. The time for such things is what he uses to deploy those things for reasoning, critical reasoning. And how will he do better? You don't have time for those things if you are somebody who is engaged upstairs. It's all function of envy. Even back home here, these are people are envious. You are doing well, whistling in your own small home. The next somebody is looking at you as you pass to work in the morning, is talking about you. Come back from work, is talking about you. And these guys in South Africa have this same character. So that is what has become, because the character is designed to attack non-South Africans. They become xenophobic. So I'm not too sure that they're not even attacking themselves occasionally. Because the issue here is this, is that when any man sit back in his house and start thinking of, how do I run somebody down? That person is empty. And it's empty. It's empty and it's satanic. And it cannot progress. So when they are doing what they are doing, it is not progressive. It is retrogressive. It is dehumanizing. It is beast-like. And of course, if you like, call it satanic. For anybody to contemplate that a man doing well in this country must come down. Why? You are there. You watch him growing. Imagine, I give an example. A young man runs on the street, selling water, selling small chips and all of that.
Just to make ends meet.
Make ends meet. He runs along vehicles to sell. Carries back here and there in the morning, works over there in the morning, he's on the street selling those things. Then you sit back and you are watching him. You are looking at him and say, look at this boy. He's always running around the place making money. Then when you go, hey, stop. Why did you get here? Who are you? Crazy. Since you watch him doing it day in, day out, why not you also learn
to do the same?
To do the same. And many of those young men who do that thing, after a few years, they now have their shops. They are now big boys. They didn't sit down and begin to look envy. No. They went into the business and ran the business. A lot of our people who left Nigeria, those business overseas. A lot of our young men and men who went overseas, they carry bags and sell on the streets.
On the streets.
So if you are from that country, it does not suggest that you cannot do that kind of business. It's all ego. If it's not ego, how can you do business? You sell. From small, you grow to big.
All right.
So for me, what has happened here is that a whole lot of envy, a whole lot of emptiness in the head of those people who contemplate those ideas, a whole lot of disdain thoughts, and some of them highly criminal intent. Because for a man to sit down and watch somebody doing his business ground and next thing you want to go and attack him means that something is wrong, completely wrong with you. You either have gone psycho, mentally deranged, or, of course, mentally deranged. Nothing else explains it.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Now, you talked about envy, talked about emptiness, talked about not wanting to go out there to hustle or to do some kind of job to put food on the table. So I'm not saying that the government in South Africa is failing in that regard because they don't have stiff measures to prevent xenophobic attacks. Just give the people involved, just a tap on the wrist and that's it.
Yeah, I will tell you, sometimes, you see, sometimes governance is far much more than you see. Don't forget that these are political times, even in South Africa.
True.
And a lot of things that have happened in these countries, they have their design in such a way that the countries themselves are exposed to internal pressure. You wouldn't know now who is behind some of these activities you are seeing in those countries. Many years ago, so many years ago, black in Europe and America were under this kind of siege. They can't even live. They were seen as subhuman just because of their color. So it's not just today that this issue of is coming up. And it was unbelievable that the dream that Martin Luther King saw in 1956, when he had a dream that one day the black and the young and the white walk on the streets with their hands up. Nobody believed him. They believed that he was just hallucinating. But unfortunately, unquote here, unfortunately, or fortunately, you cannot stop, an action when the time is due. Obama became the first black to become American president. To the chagrin of the entire white world. Not just America, the entire white world. They never saw it coming. They thought it was not possible. That's why when the man who took over, who lost recently to Biden, came on board, his first attack was attacking anything that's Obama. Because he's
Donald Trump.
Yes. He still feels very strongly that it never happened. But unfortunately, the more he feels it never happened, the more it becomes clear to him that it happened.
It happened.
The actions and the policies the man designed, he wants to make sure that none of these policies remain again, so that there be no reference to any black man talk.
Are you now saying that the policies by government on the ground in South Africa is not enough to protect foreign nationals that are doing well in South Africa?
Yeah, I will tell you this.
Saying?
I will tell you this, Wilson. You see, the truth about the matter is that you can have very strong laws, but if you cannot implement them with the zeal and zest, then it becomes as if there were no laws. And some of these challenges that governance have, like I said, there's more in governance than you see. So sometimes, even the government becomes strong out of political circumstances that he cannot push more than where he has got to.
Is it right?
No. You see, the issue of rightness now, this is political expediency. I'm not talking about legal expediency. I'm saying about political expediency. For whatever reason, I don't live with that client. But for what I can see, if you are not seeing a hard push by government, then it cannot just be by magic. There must be something that nobody is telling us. The other time, our president need to go to South Africa. You remember in that time, the last time? And there was a very serious discussion and meeting arising from this kind of actions that happened. It's not just the first time. Even during Buhari's tenure, he was there. There was a reaction, a pushback. And that thing almost affected South African business in Nigeria. And in fact, I remember that there was an attack on, is it MTN?
One of South Africa's companies. I wouldn't want to mention names right now.
I don't know names. Okay. I don't know one of the companies. Okay, they have several companies here. And, there was an attack. Because it was a pushback, a reaction. So, but I'm praying that it does not happen. Because if it does happen, that there's a reaction, they won't find it funny.
All right. Now, are you not saying that South African government are putting politics before protection of lives and properties of other nationals? Is that what you're saying?
I will tell you this.
Because if you take a look at, sorry for interjecting, if you take a look at this character, Julius, he's a very strong voice in the house. But when they were like, the big attacks, he didn't come out right to condemn it. He was almost silent about it. He was only condoning with the people that properties were destroyed. Take heart, they're going to do something about it. But he never came out 100% to speak against it. So are you not saying that they're placing politics or religious sentiment or tribal sentiment or, will I say, nationality before any other?
Now, but let me tell you this, Wilson, whether you like it or not, if there are issues in America today that has to do with an American, you're going to have a funny reaction. Now, I'll tell you this. If you remember, when Osama bin Laden had the 9/11 experience, and it was assumed that he was the one behind it. And when that thing happened, Americans didn't go to bed. In Obama time, Bin Laden was struck in a completely isolated area people never thought anybody would go to. And he passed on. When you watch the white and the black have issues in America, you always see many a time the way the white goes about that issue. You see, many a time, there are very few cases where you see the white man tracked, except otherwise he has gone deeper than what he's supposed to do, so they could not run away from it. Okay. So there is this normal apathy. I use the word normal. I don't know why it's like that, but there's normal apathy.
But is it normal?
When I say normal apathy, in the circumstance we are talking, okay, it's like a convention. Now, every country, go to Israel. Go to Israel. The average Israeli man believes that he's superior to everybody else. Go to the white man. The white man's world in UK, in America, in Germany. In Germany, you have so many of these experiences. Where Germans, even the young men in Germany, when they see a black man, they think he's an alien. He's coming here to come and disturb us. He should just go. That's why you had advised many years ago, I don't know what it is now, that if you go to Germany, don't walk alone as a black man. Go in two. Because that German will be attacked. And then try to avoid isolated areas. So that you're not the subject of attack. Now, these are all the varieties. The varieties. We talk about racism. We talk about supremacists. Yeah. Is that not what they call them? Supremacists in America.
The KKK.
Yeah. The supremacists. How did they come? It was, of course, an attack on the race. It's a variety. It's a kind of, if you like, we call it xenophobic now, of course. But these are all kind of situations that happen that select people and believe that certain people are not worthy of living. But unfortunately for the situation is that Nigeria is a country you cannot avoid in Africa. You cannot avoid us. Because we have everything, we move everywhere, and we have brought, many countries know how much we have done for them. Yes, there are a few terrible experiences, but there are very sweet experiences that we can hang on. So for anybody to suggest that the only way they can solve their internal problem is to go on xenophobic attack, for me, that is the most unfortunate experience. And I hope that the South African government, even though I told you there's a political dimension to it, that the South African government should think quick, should be fast. Because if that thing had a pushback from those they are attacking, they won't like it. They want to expand their economy, is it not true? They also want to travel. They also travel too. If other countries now expose these things happening now and now react to them, where do they go to?
Good question. Where would they go to? All right, you just now want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion. If you just joined us, this is Africa Discourse, and it is happening because we're taking a look at what one sect of group is doing in South Africa, protesting against the xenophobic attack. When we return, we'll take a look at the impact of this protest. Don't forget that there have been lots of xenophobic attacks in South Africa against other nationals. But this protest against xenophobic attack, begging your pardon, stop or nip it in the bud. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is Africa Discourse, and we're taking a look at the xenophobic attacks in South Africa. This time around, some persons came out in large numbers saying enough is enough. We are all one. We are members of the commonwealth of the black race. Why must we attack each other? So they came out in mass, joining immigration officers to say, look, let's make up this, to sensitize people the dangers of xenophobic attack. Others are saying this may just be what we call a pigeon climb wash, as in this may lead to nothing, or it may end up infuriating South Africans to really launch attack on non-South African nationals. I mean, right now, comrade, I'd like to call you comrade.
No, very fine.
This protest against xenophobia is ongoing. Do you see it provoking this other sect that have this bitterness against other nationals in South Africa, or is this march going to make them see the wrongs of what they are doing when we talk about xenophobic attacks?
Now, I will tell you this. Two things are here possible. One is that, yes, protests usually are to bring to fore what is wrong. and say, let us solve them. That's what protest is all about. Protest is not designed to destroy. It's designed to refresh and to remind people the gaps and ask them to come and correct those gaps. That's what protest is all about. And of course, dialogue now follows thereafter protest. And then we talk about what are the issues. Why was the protest? What was the reason for this protest? Does it have is it add any value to what we are doing? Now, I will tell you this. I think what is quick, and we need to remind South Africans, is that they are playing with a very dangerous trend.
Dangerous trend.
Dangerous trend.
All right.
Because South African economy is not hanging on them alone. Many countries, they are also exploiting to make their country strong. They don't all live in South Africa all once. They also migrate. They're also doing well in different parts of the world. They should remember that you can't live alone in this world. I need you, you need me. They should remember that your market is not just South Africa, it's across the globe. You should also remember that today, they're considering that other people are coming here to come and exploit. There are people also in other countries to come and exploit. And I want to ask that the government of South Africa sit back and think very seriously. Because these things that look like child's play, as if they are just joking, can snowball and cascade into a very serious crisis that they cannot carry. If they do not understand the enormity, I think they need to go back and examine. If what they are doing now, if any people react, I'm not sure they will enjoy the story. Because the economy will be suffocated. If the economy is suffocated, I don't see how the government can survive. Every country depends on the other country, other countries, to make a difference. And I want to call on African leaders. They should not just leave this matter alone for just discussing Ramaphosa. They should sit it and make it an item in the AU conference.
In the AU conference?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be an agenda in AU because it's getting to a point where it will now become an African issue. I'm not too sure that it's all Nigerians that are facing this experience.
No. Apart from Nigerians, have other nationals that have been affected. Their companies destroyed.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I hope that this matter should come up at the AU level and come up at the ECOWAS level. Because without this matter, if you don't discuss at that level, and you don't leave it on the board, it might overrun South Africa. All this fantastic talk about South Africa, they are doing well, they're one of the best in Africa and all of that, they will go to the canvas if you're not careful. Because when you are looking at, you see, somebody says a spoiler lose nothing. Those young men who are doing this kind of business, they lose nothing because they're happy they do it. But the consequence is better imagined. That entire South Africa can be crumbled. Because no country can make its economy strong when it has no external income. There's hardly any. And if every country takes the kind of attitude they are taking now, for me in Africa, I think South Africa is the only one that have had a high class of this attitude in the recent past. Yes, Ghana did their own many years ago. Even recently, there was a problem in Ghana.
Yes, it's true.
Where Nigerian shops were shut down.
Shut down. And they asked to pay 1 million or whatever.
They are cities, and they skyrocketed their rents and all the taxes so that they can come out of business. These are issues that have been happening.
True.
But it's just that in South Africa, it has become a recurring decimal. That it's like now a everyday affair. When people just wake up from one dream, the next thing they slam on people's shops and start attacking them. If those young men are not engaged, is it the fault of these people who are there doing their legitimate business? No. If these young men are left in the idle, is it the fault of people who come there? No. So the government of South Africa should sit up. And above all, the entire African continent must rise against this act. Because it's going to cascade to other countries. And if it does happen, South Africa will not find it funny.
Okay.
Because they can't live as an island in Africa. They must live with other people.
Other people?
Yes.
No, for what they're saying, opponents are saying that Cyril Ramaphosa is not really getting it in terms of the economy. That is the reason why these South Africans, they came out in mass to say, look, we don't have enough. We're unemployed. We see other nationals, they are doing well. We go out there to look for a job. We don't find it. We can't find it. But do you think that this squarely lies on the shoulders of the government? Talk about economy, because at the beginning you said it's all about economy.
Yes, of course.
It's the South African economy. getting weaker by the day, or the economy is not strong enough to handle the number of persons in South Africa, talk less of foreigners coming in to struggle for the main resources they have in that country?
Now, I'll tell you this, Wilson. Those people who went there to trade, are they under South Africa's payment?
Good question.
Are they under South Africa's employment? No. They are creative. It's out of creativity. Well, why can't you sit there and be creative? What is wrong with being creative? People came to your country and they are creative. Why not sit down and learn what they do and say you can do it too? You must attack them. Is it a crime to be creative? Nigerians go there, other countries come into that country to develop, to help them. And don't forget that if I'm trading here, my trading here can also bring you as an indigene to make your comfort. So my own take is this: that does not explain by any chance of imagination. It's not the creation of those Nigerians who went there, or other countries who went there. If they are not, even because with due regard to my TV discussion here, even because there's a gap in their thought pattern, must you attack the man who is being creative? What I expect a normal person to do is to study that person and say, what is he doing that I cannot? Let me see how I can learn from him, so that I can also establish. You sew clothes, you make money. You buy and sell, you make money. So why can't you also learn from them? Must you attack them? If your country is not giving you employment, can't you create employment for yourself? This is the issue. So to me, yes, it can be one of the reasons. But what is important is that it's not the fault of those people who came to create jobs that you now have to attack them. Instead, what I expect somebody who is rational to do is to go ahead and learn what those people are doing, so that you can also establish your company and be doing well. And this is the truth. If it's block molding, if it's clothes sewing, you go also learn. After all, a lot of people I know many years ago have to begin their life from the scratch.
From scratch.
They just go and buy, sell, make small profit, and that's how they grow. So a man who has sat down to think well and reason what he wants to do and establish his business, is it his fault that you cannot reason? Must it be that your government, if your government is not employing you, have you created employment? People create employment. I know. People create employment. If these people can come to your country and establish at all, then something is wrong with you if you cannot think, how they do it, let me go and learn what to do.
So are you not saying that they are lazy, they don't have the wherewithal to learn and to reproduce what they've learned?
For me, I don't want to use the harsh word, but I think there's a gap in their thought pattern.
A gap in their thought pattern?
Yes.
In what terms?
It's psychologically, what they call it now, skewed negatively. Because I don't see how somebody who is reasonable will see that man doing well and say he wants to go and destroy what he's doing. What I expect to do is to go and learn what he's doing. So when people come out and tell me stories, you see, there are too many excuses. Oh, government is not giving us employment, it's not doing that, that's why I'm doing this one, this one is one. No, the man you are now attacking, was he given employment by government? Did government employ him? So you now say, okay, your space, what they give to that man. Yes, you can tell me that because of cheap labor, that they are bringing cheap labor. So the question is that South Africans in other countries, are they not also be employed on cheap labor basis? So the South Africans in Nigeria who do jobs. There are many of them, from small to medium to large-scale business. There are. And so also they are everywhere in other countries of the world. So what is their fault that you're not attacking them for? No, tell me, what's their fault I'm attacking them for?
All right. Now, in course of your discussion, you mentioned the AU and, of course, the ECOWAS sub-region.
Yes.
Now, this is not the first time they're having this protest, but this is like the first time they're having this counter-protest.
Yes.
Now, taking a look at the AU as a body, do you think that if they choose to wade into this situation, do you think it's going to make any difference?
It will, because that's an economic issue. Today, I told you at the beginning of the day, I said, this is an economic issue, and which of course, you give credence to. It's an economic issue. That they don't have job, that people are getting job in their country. It's an economic issue. So ECOWAS have a responsibility here to speak. I know it's not part of an ECOWAS arrangement, But ECOWAS have to speak.
But part of the AU arrangement.
Yes,
but they've been saying little or nothing about this.
That's what I'm saying.
They will come pacify them today.
See,
before they take it the next day. It's on another level.
Now, the issue is this. That's why I'm saying they have not taken a very clear position on this matter. And very decisive too.
That means they're not decisive about it.
They should be decisive.
Okay.
Because if you don't do it now, by the time it gets out of hand, it becomes something being reactive instead of proactive. The time to be proactive is now. So it does not escalate. Other countries are still quiet. They're not making any statement yet. Only few cases you see they react and they keep quiet. But when it becomes a standard, that it becomes now a norm, you can't stop it. Then it becomes a movement. It can get to a movement where people now say South Africa must leave our country. So where do you run to? Where do you run to? You now begin to say, let's talk. Why? What are you talking at that time? So why not talk now?
But they've been talking, it's already happening.
No. The talk is not making the deep sense of the word. That's
because right now, the government of the day in South Africa is not punishing the persons involved in this attack.
That's what I'm saying. If AU reacts, I'm not too sure that South Africa will want to be sanctioned by AU.
Or blacklisted.
By AU. I'm not sure. No country will want to be part of that kind of thoughts. And they call them and say, look, we must sit down now. This has been happening, there's been quiet. But let us give you this story. That if it does happen again, this is our action.
All right, now let me set an example. When xenophobic attack happened in South Africa some years ago, even some months ago, a few months back, Nigerian government spoke vehemently against it. But that did not deter South Africans from doing that again. After the warning, after, the threat and all that, to the extent that some South African outfits in Nigeria were attacked. You're aware of that. But still, it still happened immediately after that attack. Are they getting the signal?
No, that's what I'm telling you now. You see, the issue is that the government itself of South Africa is not getting it yet. I'm not sure you understand the enormity of the danger. Maybe it do, maybe it does not. But for me, I'm not sure they understood the enormity of the danger. Because if they do understand it, I'm sure by now they would have been more proactive. Because this is about, there are what we call cannon folders they use in communities.
Cannon folders?
Yes. Some of these boys who are free boys, street boys, they always deploy those things like this for some persons who want to fly a kite. So the earlier the government begin to wake up and say, let's do something about it, the better. But I think that AU have to make some very critical approach to this matter, because I'm not finding it funny. I just imagine if this thing escalates. I don't know what Africa will look like. Africa is still in the canvas in terms of economic development. We can't allow this to further deplete our economy. We have enough trouble in Africa. We cannot allow one country to create an issue that becomes an embarrassment for all of us. We are even saying that Africa should begin to be thinking of being independent. And how do we become independent if we cannot get this? Other countries, other parts of the other continents in the world, like Asia, they are working as a team. They are working as a team. There are Chinese business in Japan, there are Japanese business in China, and there are so many of them happening just like that. And yet in Africa, all we do is out of envy and small petty talks. For me, this is petty. Extremely petty. Not now, not even in this 21st century, when people are thinking of how do we take our content to the next level. We're not there yet. We have so many challenges. So we should not allow this one to become part of the challenges that would have been avoidable. Have been avoidable. If it's not coming at this level, maybe it's a small one, I won't worry. But it's becoming something that is becoming a recurring decimal.
A recurring decimal.
I'm almost becoming a convention.
All right.
And I think the earlier the AU speak on this matter, the better for all of us.
Now, if you take a look at South Africa, some months ago, a particular group says they want to pull out from South Africa, from the Cape region. They say they want to be on them because of what they are seeing there. They're saying that they can govern themselves. Do you feel that this is related to all these kind of attacks? Because they wrote a letter to the House, presented a letter to Cyril Ramaphosa saying, look, it's high time we left this, how will I put it now, this country, we can be on our own.
Yeah, you see, Wilson.
Yeah.
Across the globe, people agitate to be independent.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure this is the reason for it. Across the globe. If you go, just look at many countries. Even the Sahrawi Republic, there was also something like that.
Everybody wants to be on their own.
Yes. But the issue is that whether those people who are asking for that kind of movement they understood what they are going to do.
And they are predominantly white.
Now, do they
White South
understand?
Africans.
Do they understand the implication of what they are asking for? Because we have seen countries who break apart. Today they are still not in peace. All the story they were talking about, we can manage ourselves and all that, it's like El Dorado. Looking at the moon, you cannot get there by your legs. You know? So let nobody see each other. We need each other. Globally, we need each other. Today, there's trouble now in Ukraine and Russia. And the entire world is now asking, where do we get oil from? Where do we get this thing from? Which means that Russia and Ukraine were the major supplier of this thing we are asking for now. So there's now a gap. That's why we are saying that never say, who are you? Because even the cripple have a role to play in what you do. You can't believe it that by the time you get to a point where the cripple becomes, you'll be confused. This same man I condemned yesterday, maybe the only man you know in Ireland. So it is important that as a people, we must sit back and tell ourselves, everybody have a role to play in this. If they feel strong that they want to go on their own. But like I said, I would advise them to think through it clearly, that not that one person is carrying them so as to become a new leader. Because some of these things that happen are individuals who will package themselves and say, they want to become leaders too. So they now create a problem and stir up crisis. Agitating for breakaway so they can become leaders of that group. And when they become leaders, then the country becomes into trouble. So we must, before you talk about agitation, we want to break away, we want to be this, we must be careful. Very careful. Oh, I understand. You don't understand. Do you understand the enormity of being a country? Do you understand the challenges of being a country? Do you understand the pullback and the pushback? Do you understand all the implications of being a country? If you say you understand, fine. But don't complain when it gets to that at that time. Because everybody blame the leader on top. You blame this, everybody blame this, blame this. When it gets to your turn, you are the one, you look like the Idi Amin Dada. Any man that talk, hack him. Meanwhile, when you were in the other group, nobody hack you. You were always complaining, this man is bad, this man is bad. Now you are not a leader now. Somebody is talking about you, just say one word about you, say hack him. Okay. So we must be careful. As human beings, we need each other. It is not our make. That's the way God have done it. I need you, you need me. That's the truth. The man who have this cannot have all. So the one you don't have, somebody else have it. And that is why the world is, we said, you know, we say we need each other. Yeah. Because like somebody says, united we stand. And divided we fall. And the falling will be too terrible. Because when a man says he wants to live alone, he's in trouble. At the immediate point, you know, emotionally, I want to live alone. He thinks he's smart. But leave him alone. A time will come, people, nobody will come to him. He'll be praying God that, what have I done? Please forgive me, whatever I've done, forgive me. There was a king who told people who was terrible. People say, okay, let's watch him do what he want to do. At the middle of his reign, he said, oh God, if I knew that, let us watch him was a cause. I'll tell them, please don't watch me. Talk to me. You know. So South Africa, we must all think, is a continent that we didn't design. It is God that brought this continent to be. We all brought into this place, not even knowing how we were going to work. Nobody knew the day he was born, that he was born. Nobody knew. He was only told that you were born on 28th of this. On the day he was born, he didn't know where he was. So he can't claim to know. So that is why we must be careful how we want to play God. I want to claim that we are super. So it's what I decide that man will be. No. So this brings me to the entire issue of Africa. Yes. Africans must think that we must live together. We must be friends to each other. We must understand each other. We must appreciate each other. Look at the story, look at the Cameroonian issue. Yeah. That's another issue entirely of its own. They want to collapse the system. Everybody want to do that. Africa must think. America, USA, the other American area, the Mexico, the Texas, and all of that, you look at the distance, and everybody want to live together. I'm not sure I've heard such agitations for a long time in America. I've not heard. In spite of their various whatever, they still live. And they still accommodate Israel as part of them. Of course you know this. Yeah. So what is wrong? Why are we not thinking that way? Why must we be retrogressive? Why must we be thinking that
that somebody who is not from my tribe must go and die. Why? We add value to each other's life. It is not, I'm not joking, but it is true. It's true. The poor play a role in the rich man's world. And the rich play a role in the poor man's world. Like one scholar said, we called him, there was a work, it was a pseudonym. And that pseudonym was John Plowman.
John Plowman.
John Plowman. And he said, there's something the poor man have, the rich man do not have, and he require. And something the rich man has, the poor man did not have, and he require. They say, somebody say, what is that the poor man had, and the poor man require? What? Nothing. He said, poor man is a poor man. He said, no. He said, the poor man have tummy, but he has no food. But the rich man have food, he has no tummy.
So there was a balance somewhere.
Yeah, there was a balance somewhere. Huh? So, because if the poor man have tummy, he has no food. And the rich man have food, he has no tummy. The rich man will be so pained. I see food I can't eat. Oh, he's so pained. And that is stressful. And the poor man says, oh, I don't have food, but I have tummy. So the rich man wish he had tummy to eat the food.
Yeah.
And the poor man wish he had food. He had food because he had a tummy.
Yeah.
So we need each other. It is not something that anybody can avoid. It's something we have come to meet. 2 hands were created.
Yeah.
2 eyes were created. 2 legs were created. Is it by accident? No. The real is that they need each other. Day and night was created. So, who are we? Male and female was created.
All right.
If there was no female, they cannot be male. If there was no male, they cannot be female. It was deliberately created by the divine direction of the Almighty.
Right,
so for us to now come and decide that somebody is not relevant, so kill him. Who says so? Who says?
Okay. Now, before we call it a wrap on this show, because I'm getting strong signal from the PD that we should call it a wrap. It's almost 50 or 1 hour thereabouts, 50 minutes or 1 hour thereabouts. Now, do you think this march against xenophobia will open up a new chapter in South Africa? We're probably talking about it. They're coming together. Even some South Africans, they're among people that are like, marching against it, saying we should stop it for South Africa to heal, to be whole, for us to grow as a nation. Do you see it? Even if it's not going to stop it, at least bring it down to the barest minimum.
Like I said, Wilson, protest is to refresh our minds on what we did not recall.
Okay.
It's to bring us to standard. It's to remind us of what gaps existed so that we can solve them. So this protest, as far as I'm concerned, might likely going to cascade. But I pray that it achieves the desired goal. And not for the purpose of others, but for the purpose of South African survival. I mean, this is very clear, South African survival. Because South Africa require to think now.
Thank you.
Than to go down the drain.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate a wonderful analysis. Hope they'll listen, hope they'll hear, hope eventually xenophobic attacks will be a thing of the past. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing, on International Forum.